Hey.
It's a great starting pace.
Yes. So, wow, what a show. Welcome, Eurovoxx. My name is Dominic. This one
I'm
is
Jana. Hi.
Jana. And this
And
one
I'm
is
Stuart.
Stuart. Yeah, nice to see you again. So, we have just seen the show Germany 12 Points, the 2022 edition. And we have a winner. And Jana, tell us, who is the winner?
Yes, our winner is Malik with Rockstars.
Yes, it is. So, first reaction, Jana, are you happy with the result?
I'm happy because he was my winner from the beginning. I think it's a really decent song. I mean, sure, he can improve his staging. It was a bit empty on stage, but I feel like the song was really personal with a lot of emotions. And for me, it was the most authentic tonight. So I'm so glad he won.
Stu, what do you think?
I'm pleased with the winner. As both of you know, this was sort of a second choice. I believe it was your second choice as well, Dominic. Our first choice was Felicia, but I think what we saw tonight, there were certain aspects which didn't quite live up to what we were expecting. But nonetheless, I agree with Jana in the sense that this was one of the performances. In fact, this was the performance that felt the most authentic. It was quite raw, and he really sold it, which was great. And you did also touch upon the staging, which I think for a selection like this, they weren't really going for the elaborate kind of staging that we would expect at Eurovision anyway. So it would definitely have to be elevated substantially by the time we get there, but it's going to be a completely different technical setup, and they'll have a lot more at their disposal to do. One thing that I did like about how he decided to present the song was that even though everybody knows by now that they aren't playing live instruments, he at least had loopers with them so that you could kind of, if you didn't know that, you could kind of believe that when he gets up from his piano that, yeah, he's set it up to have it going, and that it is, in some ways like a live instrumental performance. And then, yeah, especially when we get to the rap, like he sells it super well, and I think that he did everything that he needed to do in order to really stand out. So I'm glad that he's the one that's going.
Yeah, I agree. I must say, the rap part was the best. And usually that's not the case. I'm not the biggest fan of rap, to be honest. But that was really captivating. He was so energetic. That was really authentic. I think that was the most authentic part of the whole selection. I believe everybody was singing and like rapping. And I also think he sounded great. And he hit every note, I think. There wasn't a bump note. The whole performance was nice. I'm a bit disappointed about the staging, I must admit. You said it was empty. I think it was quite full because the staging was so small and there were quite a lot of instruments. And I was like, well, is that really necessary? I don't know. I wouldn't recommend this type of staging for Eurovision, but hey, he still has time and he did what he should do, win the selection. So now he can have so many different ideas on the big Eurovision stage. So I'm very happy about him. Yeah, so let's go to the comments and say hello to a few of our viewers. So Joanne, hello from Joanne. Hi.
Nice to see you again.
Yay. And then Eva, yes, you're right. He's the winner and we are quite happy about it. And the winner is Malik. Yay, very happy. Or not, but hey. Not happy Felicia was the only song I liked. Yeah, okay, so we already have some negative comments here. So maybe we should, before we move on, say like show this comment instead, because it was a good performance and incredible story behind his song, and that's definitely a good point because like they showed one of the audience members, is that a word? Quite a lot, and it was like that's his dad, and the song is very personal for Malik, and that's why the dad was very emotional, and that's why they showed him the whole time, and I really liked that. I think it had a great touch, so it made it even more authentic than it already was. Yeah, so yeah, we have some mixed comments overall, I would say. So some say it's unfortunate about the result. Also, some expect another 0 points, but that's not possible because the show is called 12 points. So
Exactly,
no
which means
way.
that Germany is
Gonna-
destined
Maybe
Well,
for
12.
at least a sum total of 12 points.
Yeah, exactly. That was my thought as well. um, so again, we have like a bottom place. I don't agree on that, honestly, and I'm a German, so I think it is decent. I think we all agree that this is not a contender to win Eurovision by any means, but let's be real, there wasn't a single song in the selection which was a contender. So I think they made a good choice, and I'm a bit surprised because let's maybe talk a bit about the voting because the voting was so strange. Especially like the first part was the one from the online voting, from the radio channels, and it was literally almost the same voting for every single radio station. And I was like, what's the point about this? Just give them it once and done. That was so strange, especially because I tried it. You were able to vote for every radio station, no matter
Yeah,
where you were from. So usually I'm from Hanover, so in Lower Saxony we have the radio channel NDR. So usually you should be allowed to vote for this channel and not for the others. But apparently it was possible to vote for every radio station. So obviously the votes were similar because everyone was like, "Hey, I'm a smart person. I'm going to vote for every radio station." So here we are.
Right.
Yeah, and
Right.
then they were like laughing at themselves, like, "Ooh, another 8 points for Felicia, 10 for Malik." And like, wow, this is quite ridiculous.
yeah, I was
What do
also
you-
voting.
yeah,
for-
what do you think about that?
But I think we should not vote per radio station, but per region instead. It would be much more sensible. I don't get it with the radio stations anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with the setup going into it because I thought that they were just jury votes because they were presented in a way that we expect jury votes to go. And then, especially the fact that all but one of them had the exact same top three, and then the bottom three were also more or less the same too. There was maybe a few switch ups here and there. Yeah, so I was a bit confused by that. But I mean, I think also, given the fact that it was so consistent, that means that the televote supported Malik quite a bit in order for him to surpass that, because there was a substantial gap considering
18 points, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So props to him. He's in this case, this is the public's choice for. I mean, at least through. I guess it's kind of multiple levels of public voting, but I think that's a good thing.
Well, at least I like the fact that they did it like the percentage. So it wasn't like in the Spanish selection, and that it was like, well, you're in the first place, so you get 50 points. You're in second place, no matter how big the difference is, you get 50 points. So that was really something I appreciated, because otherwise would have had a different result in the end. Yeah. So people are already commenting on that as well. So people were saying, well, the felt very rigged. I think my explanation is the reason why. That it's pretty much the same result here.
Which doesn't necessarily make it rigged. It just makes it not well planned out. Like, because rigged implies like actually, trying to manipulate the votes.
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, it's just like, as you mentioned, if the voting is not region specific and is open to the whole population to vote in every poll, then it makes every poll redundant.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
8 times over.
Yeah,
I was
and
just confused because I swear to God was the first place apparently, but it was also the public voting there for the radio stations, and no one ever liked I swear to God in the comments. So I was a bit confused that it was so high.
yeah, I have the numbers here because like in theory you would have been able to vote online as well as for the televote, because both are the public audience basically. So Maël and Jonas were first by far here, and they were third in the televote, and it was close to Eros with 70 points. So the margin was already tiny. So it was a big difference here. I think the only one who really fell over was Emily with only 7 points. But then we had Felicia in fifth place televote-wise, only 65 points. So that was a big surprise, at least for me, because at least Stu and I had her as a favorite, and I think Jana was also quite happy about her performance.
I think she was fan favorite, so I was
Yes, she was the fan favorite. She was by far the one in the odds. And I think she would have been a great winner as well. And I'm surprised that she only finished third overall and that the teleport was so bad. So were you expecting that, Stu? Did you like Felicia's performance?
So, I mean, just to allude to some of the things that you said, like she absolutely was the clear fan favorite. And we always have to remember that, what the fans want is not always what ends up, well, not only is not what ends up getting chosen, but it's also not necessarily reflective of the tastes of the actual people who, live in the country and vote in the show. But absolutely, I think it was, considering the reception that the songs had, it made sense that she was the fan favorite. I do think that when it came to the actual performance, there were a few things that were missing. It wasn't bad by any means. In fact, I would at least put it in like second or third place when talking about performance aspects overall. Like vocally, it was good. It was not amazing, I would say. I think Malik really, would be the one to call like the better performer of the night, putting Jamala aside because obviously she wasn't competing.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well, don't worry.
Yes, of course. But yeah, I mean, just my issue was that with the setup, it felt a little bit too typical, like with the four dancers. I did like the fact that there was those reflective pillars, but I don't really think that they ultimately, added too much. And I again, it's because a selection like this is not really made with that cinematic idea that you would expect for Eurovision. So I imagine that she was limited in some ways for what she could do. But I do think that it was good overall. It makes sense to me why it didn't win. So yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, so I was a big fan of the lighting. I think that was clever. And I liked her vocals, even though I think the mixing wasn't the best. So I think the music was a bit too loud or the mic was too low. I don't know. That was something off for me. And I like the idea about the dance, even though it's nothing special, of course. Not the biggest fan of her outfit. I don't know. It was kind of distracting.
I liked her outfit.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mix of things because it was the kind of like sport jacket with the bra, if you want to call it that. But I like that it was, it gave her a form, but it allowed her to show some skin in some ways.
Okay. I had the feeling it made her a bit stiff. That was my problem.
Stiff?
Yeah. In terms of like she was dancing and it felt like she wasn't really moving because of the suit. The purple
Could
one.
be.
Yeah. Anyhow, Jana, what about you?
My issue was a bit that she said afterwards that this song is really personal for her because she also has social anxiety and this is her most important song she ever wrote. But I think she also should show it a bit more on stage because I was missing the emotions a little bit. It was a bit static. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was a good performance, but it needed a bit more, in my opinion.
Yeah, fully agree on that. So about the comments, some of them are really happy that they didn't win, like Sarah Helen. She liked Felicia, but not the song, which is fair. I mean, it's not everyone's taste, I guess. And people are also sad for anxiety because they saw some potential in it, and I saw it as well. But hey, this still exists, so you can still listen to it. I mean, that's not too bad overall. But we also have like Neil Eros says that not surprised that Felicia flopped. Okay, so some were expecting that, especially because like there was a comment that Germany usually never votes for fan favorites. Yeah, that's true. We had some moments in our history where like big names, and I mean really big names, were competing in the national selection, and everyone was like, "Hey, what's the point about making this selection? Because this will obviously win." And then in the end, the wild card won. For example, who was it? Elisa. Elisa in 2014 against the big band Unheilig. That literally was one of the biggest bands we had here, and they lost against Elisa. So as you can see,
Eddie Ryan.
yeah, exactly. So we had so many examples. So that was a very good comment. But I think Felicia wasn't like a very big name. It was only considering, based on the 6 songs, it was considered as the favorite, but not because of her reputation or something. Okay, so we also have quite a lot of comments about Emily. She had like a problem. let's read out this comment. Poor Emily forgot her words and looked lost and confused. It was cringeworthy. At least Barbara Schöneberger, which is awesome, by the way, tried to console her. Yeah, so she was competing with the song Soap. And yeah, I don't know. There was something off here. There were quite a lot of bubbles, which suits the song. For me, it was a bit too literal. I mean, if you have the song called Soap, you don't need it. It was a bit like Queen Bee in Norway. You don't need all these bees in the background because, Anyway, and then they were having real bubbles. And then she got distracted immediately, and then she forgot her lines. And not just a word or something, but like 3 or 4 lines. Basically, the whole second verse was
Yeah.
and she wasn't really covering it. She was really like, what am I supposed to do? Oh, damn, She wasn't doing this poker face, everything is planned or something. So it was pretty obvious. And then, like, right after the performance, she was admitting, like, oh, I screwed up. And then, yeah, this discussion with Barbara happened, which is like, well, that's normal. It happens all the time. That was quite fun. Yeah, it was a bit cringe, I agree. What do you think, Stu? Did you realize the mistake or like this accident?
I mean, it was pretty hard to miss because she just fully stopped singing. It wasn't even like one time I was at a concert and I was at the very front and I was singing along to a song, and then the singer saw that I was singing and pointed the microphone in my face. And in that moment, I forgot all the words and I just kind of went. So she didn't do any of that. She just completely stopped. So yeah, it was pretty hard to miss. And I mean, it does say something about like the confidence that you have in the song, how much time you spent writing it and rehearsing it, because that's your moment to make a point to your country and be like, yes, choose me to represent you because this is the story that I want to tell. So yeah, I think she was at least a good sport about it. Obviously, it does also, because she was pretty chill about it, it kind of also suggests like how committed she was or how committed she wasn't to the project. Yeah, it's a shame, but I guess maybe she shouldn't have washed her brain with soap so much. Otherwise, she would have had the lyrics.
Okay.
Had to make it.
Yeah.
Here all week.
Yeah.
I think she was really nervous because she said afterwards in the rehearsals everything went smoothly. So, but then she immediately got distracted by the big bubbles. But I really like the bubbles. I mean, at least she had something on stage.
Well, but was that the reason that she gave, that it was the bubbles that distracted her?
Yeah, she said she has ADHD and that distracted her.
Oh,
Sarah,
okay.
Here's your answer. The bubbles were the reasons.
Yeah, she said she has ADHD, and that was the reason she said.
I like the fact, because she was last in online voting, that she was like, well, am I still supposed to get on stage? I mean, I'm not going to win anyway. So I like that kind of attitude. It was kind of fun. Anyway, so Sarah wants to know which concert you were talking about.
This was a trance act called Cosmic Gate, and they had a guest vocalist called Emma Hewitt, who's from Australia. Cosmic Gate is actually from Germany. I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but
Nope.
they've been around since the late 90s, and they make some pretty good bangers. I haven't listened to them in a while, but they have certain songs of theirs that I really love. And Sarah O'Halloran would know because she plays Dance Dance Revolution, and they had their version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow on Dance Dance Revolution. So
okay, very great.
Sarah and I we have things in common.
I see, you're on the same vibe there. So I would say we move on, because we haven't talked about the online voting winner yet, which was a bit surprising because we weren't really, I don't know, it's hard to say we weren't fond about it, but it was like we kind of forgot it. It was I Swear to God by Maël and Jonas. They won by a big margin with 106 points. And I was already preparing myself and be like, hey, these are going to be the winners. These are going to be my representatives. But in the end, they weren't. They only came second because they only got third in the televote. So, Jana, have you been a fan of them?
Yeah, I was really surprised. I mean, even second place is really high. I mean, they were not one of my favorites, I have to say. So, but I really appreciate the staging. I like the visuals and also the car on stage. It was really cool. The performance itself was a bit chaotic, in my opinion. And yeah, but at least the chorus stays in your head, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, Stu?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we did our video about Germany 12 points, like I really struggled to come up with things to talk about in general because I wasn't bothered by it, but I just didn't really find anything that was too special about it. I do agree with it that it is a catchy song, and I guess that there is an appealing aspect of it, how the story that they're telling is kind of like about friendship, right? Like, you know, it doesn't matter what the hard times are, I'll follow you through the dark, as they say. And that is quite endearing, but overall it just didn't leave that much of an impression. And I have to say that the performance itself, it didn't really add much for me either. I kind of like the concept of having a caravan, or you know, that kind of like
Volkswagen.
a Volkswagen, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is an accomplishment for them that they got, you know, as we mentioned, it is a bit redundant to have so many polls that everybody can vote in, but the fact that they did reach the top of most of those polls is, you know, good for them.
Yeah, so I wrote that down as well. I like the idea about the car. Besides that, I wasn't really a fan. They also added like a clapping part, which was a bit weird because he was the only one clapping, and it felt so, I don't want to say amateurish, but well, I did. So I don't know. There was something weird about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it didn't have impact because that is something that I would encourage you to put in the backing track so that you can get that full sound. Because instead of sounding like this, it sounded like,
Yeah,
you know, I don't even know if you can hear that, but
no. And it was like, yeah,
it wouldn't have made a difference anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like a spontaneous idea, but like, hey, let's add a clap.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And like in the first chorus as well. So usually you do this clapping in the end of the song when you want to reach a peak or something. But it was like, hey, let's clap right from the beginning. Okay. I was a bit confused by that. So that wasn't for me. I don't know. There was something about it which was a bit not for me. Anyway. So we also had two more acts. We had Eros with the song Alive. He finished 5th overall with 123 points. The song was Alive. So, Jana, were you a fan of Alive?
It was in the middle for me, but I think it has a nice message because I think it's about a friend in a wheelchair. So the background is really nice. The Rose song is really uplifting, but yeah, I'm not sure about the performance.
So about the staging, I would say I like the staging, especially the beginning. I like the idea of the picture frame. That was cool. And also like that he did the thing with the guitar, but I think that was obvious that he was going to do that on stage because like basically the whole postcard or the film before the performance was about, hey, I can do that. So obviously he did that. And also it ticked a lot of Eurovision boxes like wind machine and guitar, and I'm gonna jump on the sofa of the jury or the guests or whatever. I don't know. It kind of reminded me of Maruf's performance 2019, but the semi-final, where she was like going to the jury panel and walking around there and almost on the table. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a bit strange and a bit dangerous because he was jumping on the sofa and just imagine he would have fallen down.
I mean, hey, it still would have been a moment, right? I mean, we had somebody completely forget the words to their song, so it would have
her own song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he was before that. So hey.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. Well, it wasn't. The thing is, it wasn't memorable enough. I think that was my problem with it. But he had fun. He's 21 years old. I mean, good for him to be here. So, yeah. I must say about the message of the song. We talked about that as well, like in the video before. It's a bit naive, maybe. And he was actually admitting afterwards that he was like, yeah, I kind of feel strange to sing this kind of song in the current times. I don't know. Has a bit of sweet taste to it. I don't know. But at least he was aware of that, and I like that he was actually addressing that. And not just saying, well, I like the song and this is my message and done, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness to him, none of this was happening when he wrote the song and submitted it to the broadcaster for Eurovision. So it's not like he can really be blamed for that. But I think when we were talking about it in the video, there are other things that have happened since the war in Ukraine, and I my issue is that I had a hard time feeling like anybody would really buy into the way that he was telling the message of the song. And I don't know too much about what you said, Yana, about his friend in a wheelchair. And I definitely do appreciate a song with optimism, but it just the way that it was being told with, kind of very straightforward instrumentation, very literal words, like not a lot of poetry to it. And we even got some F-bombs in this version, which didn't really make it better, but I guess it makes
made it worse. That's weird. It made it worse because it was like 21. I'm like a very nice guy, and it's great to be alive. But hey, dude, like what's the point? And he did it not like once, but like 10 times. I was like, don't try to be someone else. You're not that kind of guy. I had the feeling that it was a bit fake. I don't know. There's something off to this whole performance.
But I did also, as you guys have mentioned, I did quite like the staging. I thought it was actually one of the best. And I do really like that idea of using a frame to separate different aesthetics, because he kind of had like a glowing yellow sky behind him. And then I can't remember what was on the other sides, but it was a nice way to separate what you're seeing and to put him in the center and add some depth to what you're seeing. So I think that they did that aspect really well. And we didn't really see, as we mentioned, a lot of Eurovision ready stages, and that one also wasn't Eurovision ready, but it was the closest, I would say.
Agree on that. Okay, anything else? Because otherwise we have one more song. Nico, Suave featuring Team Liebe with the song Hallo, Welt, the only German song. And there was something special to it because they changed the lyrics like a day or 2 days before the actual show because of current events. And it wasn't like a slight change, but I had the feeling it was a full new song. So that was surprising. But again, it was a bit like Alive. The lyrics were also a bit too basic in our opinion. And it was also like, well, if you feel bad, just be happy. It doesn't really help me. And they adapted the song to the current situation. On the one hand, I like that because it shows some kind of sensitivity, that they are aware that this is not something you should sing right now because it doesn't suit. But on the other hand, I don't know. I had a weird feeling about it. It felt a bit strange. To be fully honest, it felt a bit like we want to take advantage. You know what I mean? There was something like also in the end when they were asking the guests or something who should win. Yeah, I want Hallo, Welt because it suits so well to the current times. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what they were going for. So that's why I was like, nah. That was Anyway, about the performance, it felt a bit messy. I had do you remember Montenegro 2019 demo? That was like, this is the German demo. So overall, wasn't a fan, and I'm actually not surprised that the televote was so high because of the changes they did. So in the end, it was a smart move. They finished second in the televote. Good for them, but I'm fine with the result overall. I'm happy that Rockstar is the winner. Stu, were you a fan of that?
There are aspects that I did like. I do think that they harmonize really well. There really isn't too much more that I can say apart from that. I mean, I do like songs with simpler instrumentation, and this was pretty simple with mostly guitar and a little bit of percussion, and then some light strings. I guess I didn't listen to this song repeatedly. Let's just say it that much. But yeah, you mentioned the context of the song, and it also is saying something about the song itself if it needs to be changed. Because what they had before, there were really two issues with it. One, there were a lot of brands in there that wouldn't have been allowed at Eurovision, so they would have had to change it anyway. And two, the sense that I got from what you told me, because obviously I don't speak German, is that they had this approach that was quite superficial, and although they might have had good intentions with trying to uplift people and get them to see things in the positive, the way that they were doing it didn't really feel useful. So I could see why that would have been a turnoff. So then if that's already an issue for your song, and then because something that is very top of mind for a large portion of the world requires you to change that, then it does say something, because that would not be the case for most songs. I mean, maybe light things here and there, but I think that it's the perfect reason for why this song shouldn't have been chosen in the first place, and it wasn't, so we don't have to worry about it. But it's not that it was all bad, but I do see the comparisons to D-Moll being so optimistic, and just kind of having them plopped on a stage and kind of taking turns stepping forward and going back. And as you said as well in the chat, Nico also forgot some words to the song. Is that right?
Yeah, I was about to mention that. Yeah. He was like, oh, the pronunciation isn't like Liebe, Welt. Like, no.
Oh, so he did what I did at that concert.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, hey, you changed the lyrics so many times. Maybe you're not aware of the current version. Maybe that was the issue. Before we go to Jana, I want to show this comment because that suits perfectly. I was surprised that Nico, Suave and Team Liebe did so well with the televote. I just couldn't even watch them. So not anything I would listen to. He did vote for Felicia. So yeah, maybe that's why they did quite a decent televote result. Also because of the running order, they were last, even though only 6 songs. But still, I think the running order was good for them. And also because of the lyric change. So Jana, here we go.
No, I totally agree with Stuart here. I don't know, they changed the lyrics in the last moment. They were singing about crisis and current wars, but at the same time, they were singing in the chorus, "Hey, hello world, how are you doing?" It's almost a bit sarcastic, isn't it? I mean,
actually, they were.
Don't ask.
Yeah, no, wait. They were not singing "How Are You" anymore. They had that.
They did.
I see you.
Really?
Yeah, they did.
But then at some point they were singing something different.
I think there was, yeah, I don't know. But
so they had like 2 or 3 different choruses.
Yeah, as well, yes.
Yeah. So like I think one of them was like Hallo, Welt, was ist nur los? Like what?
Yeah, the first one was
something.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was the one I had in mind.
Yes, and the last one in English was "Hello world, how are you doing?" So I was like, okay.
So they weren't even consistent about that. So that's a problem. That's a real problem if you change
and
the
also
lyrics.
in the end, when Barbara talked to him, that he also forgot the lyrics. He was a bit shady when they talked about Emily.
He was very shady.
So I don't know. I didn't really like.
Well, I did like it in Emily. Oh, but not as badly as she.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, okay, shady.
Oh. Okay, mic drop. Yeah. Anyway,
anytime somebody accuses me of being shady, because I always try. I get my points in sometimes, but generally speaking, I'm pretty optimistic, and I try to be as fair as possible. So anytime somebody comes at me and be like, "You're being too shady," I'm just gonna think of our friend Nico.
Yeah. Oh man. So, like a comment from Sarah, maybe just make up new words.
That's not easy to do in the spot.
I think she was too stressed and too nervous as well. So
yeah, so I mean, it's a German television show, so that means the German lyrics would have been obvious that they were made up. But I think that like the English one, she could have mumbled something, and then they would be fine because like not that many are. Yeah, exactly. Not that many people in Germany are like fluent in English. At least like they don't really pay attention to the lyrics in a pop song. So I think she would have been fine. But I mean, there was a bubble, so I think she had no chance to think about any other lyrics. Okay, anyway. So we talked about every performance, but there was so much more about this whole show. So overall, I want to ask you, did you enjoy the show? Because many comments were saying that they felt a bit like the show was a bit cringe, that they didn't like the staging or like the host. I must disagree on the host. I love Barbara Schöneberger. She's so hilarious. I love her humor. She is so fun. Oh my gosh. I'm very happy that she's the spokesperson. And I agree. Sometimes it's a bit cringe and a bit like, oh, okay. But overall, she's just so fun. She's so lovely, and I really appreciate her efforts. And I think that's definitely something she should continue for the next few years. So, were you a fan of that, Stu?
Yeah, I always I always look forward to seeing Barbara give the points for Germany. There's just something about her that's so it makes you happy, right? And I do really think, like, obviously I can't really pick up too much because I don't know the language, but
I was about to say,
my
like, if you understand something,
a few things.
yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, because obviously, English is a Germanic language as well. So when there are certain similarities, and you can like get context as well. But what I wanted to say is that I do think that she does a lot of carrying of the show. And I think back to the interview that she did with Jendrik last year after, when he kept going on and on about how drunk he was, and like it was
Oh
like
yeah,
not
he was so drunk.
yeah, and not good PR for him. And she was doing her best to really kind of keep him on track, and to also like not patronize him and be like, oh no, don't say that, right? Like she was really trying to keep it going, and that's really the signs of a pro. So I have a lot of respect for her, and I would love for her to come back for every Eurovision related thing when it comes to Germany. And especially if let's say, I mean, we're not seeing it this time around, but if let's say that Germany wins in the future, then she should definitely be one of the hosts.
Yeah, I mean, it's either Barbara or Anke for me, one of these two.
Yeah.
I love
both.
them. Yeah. Oh, both.
Mm.
Imagine. Oh my God. Yeah.
Who's the second one?
Yes, Anke.
Anke Engelke,
Was-
the one
yeah,
who was actually the
2011.
host in 2011.
Oh yes.
That's
Yeah, she's
Anke.
amazing.
Love
Mhm.
her. Okay, Jana, go ahead.
Yes, so I love Barbara and Anke, but I can't deny the show was a bit cringe. I mean, the beginning, we had the sofa. It reminded me of a German television show, Wetten, das. Then we had the guests. I mean, I totally get Conchita, Nicole, but the comedian, I was a bit
Julian Scheler.
surprised. Yes, I mean,
Mhm.
what is he doing there? I mean, I like him, but
Maybe that's why, because he wanted something out of the Eurovision.
yeah, I don't
I
know.
think that was the whole approach.
But I like the
Ooh.
interval acts, the medleys with Conchita and Nicole. They're really nice. And of course, No, No, Never, one of the best Eurovision songs from Germany.
Yeah, I agree on that. So Neil was saying Barbara is funny, but she has some questionable fashion choices. But that is part of her shtick.
Yeah.
Shtick? Is
Her
that a
shtick.
word? Shtick?
It's, as I understand, it's Yiddish, and it's like your thing. It's like your party trick.
Okay. So, fun fact: Barbara has a fashion magazine in Germany, which she publishes like every month or so. It's called Barbara. So that's interesting that she's like not that much of a fashion icon, at least for Neil. I mean, yeah, fashion is always a very something about the taste, which is always a bit different.
It's about
And
art.
yes, anyway. So as you already have realized, a lot of her performances had some blue and yellow. They had some also Malik, especially because on the back on his guitar there was like I Stand with Ukraine, which was very tasteful, I think, because especially it was like after the performance, it wasn't present the whole time. So the performance was by itself, and then in the end he was showing that. So I really like that. So obviously we need to talk about that because there was a special guest there, Jamala, the one who was the winner of the Song Contest 2016 with the song 1944. And I truly must admit, I cried during that performance. I had goosebumps. I was really impressed. It was so stripped down. It was just her, the flag, and that's it. And the tree from the performance from Eurovision in the background. And that's it. And that was all that was needed. It was It was so, I don't know, haunting. It really got me. It had such a deeper level now than it had 6 years ago, and I think that was already very deep and very emotional. But they were all like standing in the German audience. They were really emotional as well, and they really felt that. And I think it was very tasteful. And she was, if you can consider it like the winner of the night, because she made a point, and honestly, it was kind of sad to see her do that performance and then have the selection, because I think the level of quality was so huge. Don't want to say like put down the other acts. But you know what I mean? Like the quality was like on another level too.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about, and there's an aspect of it that I think is a bit challenging to talk about when it comes to Eurovision, because of the fact that a lot of people really hold on to the show for being apolitical, and we all know how controversial she was as a winner. We also know that the televote winner that year was Russia, with a song that was very much what people thought Eurovision to be. Seeing her perform tonight, it was touching. It just really points out why that song had so much emotion behind it. And my heart breaks for her, for Ukraine. As you guys know, like I've been a fan of Ukrainian artists that we've seen recently. But it's not just about that. It's really about the fact that this is a humanitarian crisis that is affecting a lot of people. And it is really difficult to talk about that in the Eurovision sphere, because politics are supposed to be aside from that. But not every situation is the same, and I do think that this could potentially be a new era where people have to reconcile with what's going on in the world, and that's going to affect the show. But yeah, it is a real contrast, and I mean, in a sense, it's not fair, because she did win Eurovision, even though it's been a few years. But to have that winning song contrasted up against the songs that are in the running to go to Eurovision this year, it's not really fair in that sense. But it does really show you the difference of what is behind a winning song. It was also different to how she performed it in 2016, because the feelings are so fresh, and I think everybody saw that. So I'm not surprised that it has had this emotional impact. As you can tell, it had it on me too. I'm very happy that she's safe and that her children are safe, and I just I hope that this doesn't last for too much longer.
Yeah, it's so crazy, because like a few days ago she was like still in Ukraine, and
yeah, she was a judge.
Yeah, she was a judge. Whitby was like 2 weeks ago or something, or 3 weeks ago. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. And the thing that she managed to get to Romania and then to Turkey and then actually showed up, I was surprised, because I knew she was going to perform, but I thought she would have been in Turkey and then had like an online thing or something going on and then perform from there. But then she showed up. I was like, wow. And then like she was holding her Ukrainian flag the whole time. That was really impactful and really, really strong. Jana, what were your emotions about that?
Yeah, I really admire her for doing this. I mean, it must cost a lot of strength to just show up on stage again and sing this song. I mean, she wrote it by herself, with all the emotions and the history, and now it's present again. And I can't even imagine how she must feel. It's insane. And you could really feel that. I mean, she was really feeling the song. She was so into it. And I think she was also almost crying. It was just so pure and intense and really heartbreaking. And I think it was the most important moment of the night.
Yeah, definitely. So Ryan Bailey is agreeing. Wasn't a fan of Jamala's song. I must say it was okay. I was fine with her as a winner, but she wasn't my favorite. But it has like a different meaning now to me. When I listen to the song now, total different thing. And it was very moving. I totally agree with that. And Sarah Helen also says like tucked her heartstrings. So Vincent is asking, am I happy with the results? Yes, I am. Rockstars were my second favorite. So I was like, Felicia was my first, I'm not gonna lie. But if it's like Felicia or Malik, I'm happy. So I'm good with it. Yeah, I think we covered everything. Is there anything you want to add before I do my final question, as always?
I mean, so we did. I mean, there isn't really much of a point of dwelling on the issue that the controversies that preceded this election. But I do really hope that Malik is given a chance by the German public. I hope that people will eventually move on from the whole Eskimo cowboy issue, and I think that the best possible outcome of this show tonight is that we do have a song that feels authentic. I do agree that it kind of lacks impact in some regards. and I don't want to be the one to throw around, maybe they can revamp it, because I know that's kind of like the solution to everything. But I do think that this could get Germany a little bit further. It's not going to be a stride. It's going to be a baby step, but it could be, hopefully a baby step in the right direction.
Yeah, so you're pretty much already answering the question, because it's like, what is your prediction for the final? Remember, Germany is a big 5 country, so there's no semi-final for us.
Yeah.
And remember, Jendrik was 25th with 3 points. Do you think it's going to be better than that? Jana?
Yes.
Yes, I really think so. I mean, I'm not sure if he will be in the top 10 or top 15. At this point, I can't see it, but we don't know about the staging. I mean, he has the vocals, he has the skills, so there is potential. I mean, I think he could make it into the top 20 at least. So that would be a good step already.
Yeah, I agree. So I would be pretty mad if this ends up like 25th, which would be last in this year. I mean, we only have 25 in the final. So I really doubt that. I think we're going to get televotes. I think we're going to get jury points. And I think it's going to be more than 12 points in total. Mark my words.
Yes. Set reasonable goals for yourself.
Yeah, and if this doesn't turn out to be true, this video is going to be deleted.
We're going to erase this so that we can pretend like it never happened.
Yeah, so yeah, anyway, I really wish him the best. I'm happy that he's the winner, and that, as you have said, there's potential here, and I think it's going to be a good one. Yeah, so thank you, Jana, thank you, Stu, and thank you for everyone who has been viewing this video. So if you like this video, always subscribe us. It's always nice. Also, you can like this video. And yeah, since tomorrow is another big Saturday, you're definitely going to see us tomorrow, because we have the final of like 4 or 5 countries, I think.
We have Denmark. We have Serbia. We have Romania.
France.
And France.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then we also have Songkapnen semifinal 2, Festival de Canção semifinal 1, and the Melfest Heat 5, which is more or less the second chance round with a different name.
Exactly. Okay, so definitely going to tune into that, and yeah, see you again soon. Bye.
Tschüss.
Tschüss.
Ciao.